Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be reviewing part 1 of Doom Coalition 4. Now this is the final Doom Coalition set, at least thus far, and this was sent to me by one of my subscribers, Robert. Robert's actually sent all of the Doom Coalitions and a couple other things as well, so I really appreciate Robert sending that. Definitely wanted to give him a shout out. I really appreciate the support he's given the channel. And the first part is called Ship in a Bottle, which kind of is very fitting because if you remember my review from Doom Coalition 3 Part 4, it ended on a cliffhanger with the Doctor being betrayed and him, Helen, and Liv being stuck in basically an escape pod lifeboat thing and sent into the future, but into a future that's destroyed. Nothing's there, it's just an endless void, and so they're stuck there alone. And so the whole story really centers around them. It's almost like a bottle episode, because it's basically just these three characters, the Doctor, Liv, and Helen, with them trying to figure out a way out of their predicament and how to get back to the past to prevent this future from happening. But it's not quite a bottle episode in the sense that you still have to have prior knowledge of previous stories in Doom Coalition to fully understand what's going on, because it does reference, of course, the things that just happened to them. Other characters, like who betrayed the Doctor, other characters that they dealt with, and how it all ties together is referenced in this so you do have to have that foreknowledge. It's not quite a bottle episode, but it is interesting to see something kind of like Midnight in a way, where you do have basically they're stuck in this ship that's basically the size of a big room, and they're in there together, one trying to come up with how to get out of the situation, but also dealing with the lingering sense that maybe there's nothing they can do, that maybe they're just stuck there, and they're each dealing with that in their own ways, and how they all grapple with that over the course of the episode. The episode really flies by. I'm pretty sure it's a standard audio length, probably 45 to 60 minutes. I didn't time it, but I'm assuming it's 45 to 60 minutes or something like that, or maybe better. I do not know how long it is. It feels like it just flies by. I swear it seemed like it was only the length of a standard classic episode, like 25 minutes, because it shot by so quick. I mean, I did take a little break in there at one point. Not because I needed to, I just did. But it still seemed to go by very quickly. I like the fact that since it's just the three of them, it's easy to keep up with who's talking. It's easy to keep up with what's going on. I never felt confused. I never felt lost, really. The music is very in tune with what's happening in the story. There's one little segment that toward the end, toward the climax of the episode of the part 1, where the music does ramp up again, because stuff is happening and it needs to, but it does kind of threaten to overpower the dialogue. But they're basically out in astronaut suits or something, to the equivalent of that, outside the ship dealing with kind of time vortex winds and stuff. So I guess it's supposed to be kind of like out being in a storm, you know, like being out in a hurricane or something. So I guess it's kind of hard for them to communicate, but it never got to the point where I really couldn't make out what they were saying, but it did kind of remind me of some of the other stories where the sound mixing hasn't been the best, like that Story of Her Life or whatever it was that I had real problems with the sound mixing. And maybe it was just giving me flashbacks to that, but it only lasted about 2 minutes or so. And it's interesting watching how they grapple with things in different ways, their interactions with the story. Also how they try a couple things, but since the life pod was sent before it was technically finished, all the stuff they need doesn't work. So one plan doesn't work, so they try another plan. That doesn't work. To where they're left with a third plan, which involves them basically having to blow up the ship and ride the shockwave in it and hope that sends them back to the past, using a couple of flare guns also to propel them. With the end result being Liv and Helen and the Doctor get separated, where in the middle of this little, I keep wanting to say time storm, and it's not a time storm, where they're in the time vortex, and all this basically the climax of the episode is happening. The Doctor gets spun out one direction and they get spun out another, with the episode kind of ending up with them ending up back in the past, but they're kind of in space adrift, kind of like the Doctor and the companions at the end of The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Or more accurately, like that episode of Star Trek Voyager when Paris and B'Elanna are stuck in the spacesuits in space. Kind of like that. That's kind of the cliffhanger ending, with the Doctor being somewhere else, where he's not with them. He got spun out somewhere else. But it was enjoyable. I actually did like part one. It just explored these characters together and their rapport together. And of course, the actors are very good at bouncing off of each other. And it's interesting to kind of see 8 take kind of the attitude he does in places in this. I found that actually quite interesting. So I actually liked this episode being very cast light, being a very small cast. It's a bit, you know, to kind of get to know these characters. That was pretty neat, and I liked it. So part 1, Ship in a Bottle. I liked it. A solid start for part 4. Well, part 1, a solid start to Doom Coalition 4, the final Doom Coalition. I'm sure things will ramp up with part 2, but it was a nice way to start this box set. So have you ever listened to Ship in a Bottle? And if so, what do you think of it? And if you've listened to Doom Coalition as a whole, what do you think of it? Comment down below. Let's talk about it. I want to give another shout out to Robert. I appreciate him sending it and everything he has done to support the channel. If there's anything you would like to send me, my P.O. box is down there in the description of the video. Check that out. I also have a link to my Amazon wish list. I also have a link to my Amazon UK wish list, which I've recently added Series 2 of Blake 7 to, because I would like to get Series 2 of Blake 7, and I just can't quite swing that right now. You guys know how it is. So if anyone would like to send that, that is on there. I also have a Patreon. If you would like to support me on that, there's a link to that down there as well. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Androzani Major, Unknown289, Colin Coney, and Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. Most importantly, thank you for watching.